Yeah, hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. Sean here once again with another video, this one entitled Government is Not Our Friends. And obviously the title kind of says it all. This really should be a pretty straightforward video. I don't want to take too long. I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of this fact. But for many of us, when we started our journey of awakening and then finally to ascension, it was one of the first things that really kind of woke us up. So for all of you who are maybe up until now had been really trusting in your governments. You actually were believing in what they were saying. You thought they had the will of the people and the good of the people in their hearts. It's really to you that I'm addressing this video, and I'm not putting this video together to anger you or scare you in any way. It's just to show you, sort of open up the box, so to speak, let you see inside, and take a look for yourself. And this way you can sort of free your mind and really just stop paying attention to what they're doing, because it's really all just one giant dog and pony show, if you will. They are the visible government that we see, and now at least lately we've had the term come out which has helped my case, because I've been talking about this for about 30 years, if not more, is the term shadow government, which is a relatively new term. Before we used to call them the men behind the curtain. But really the visible government that we see is not the government in any way, shape, or form. These are merely actors on a stage, which I think is becoming more and more evident regardless of which country we're talking about. The people that are actually the representatives of the government, prime ministers, presidents, etc. These are merely actors. These people, for the most part, have been groomed, some of them from early childhood, to take these positions. They're very, very good. A lot of them are very charismatic. They're very good at putting their messages forward, that especially during election time, that they are here to help the people, that they're going to be different from the last government that was in power. And of course, by the time we're 2-3 years into their term, we see that they're doing the exact same thing regardless of which party they may be from, whether they're from the same party or a new party. They're always doing, with slight maybe different nuances, they're essentially doing the same thing as the one before them, and a lot of times it's just getting worse and worse and worse from election year to election year to election year. So they are, like I say, they are mainly actors. And we talk about shadow government. A lot of people, when they're thinking shadow government, are thinking about the shadow government of their country, maybe the shadow government of the US, the shadow government of Canada or Britain. The one thing to realize is that the shadow government is the same shadow government behind all these countries. It's the same group of people, whether you're talking about England, the United States, Canada, Australia. I'm not sure how many other countries are involved in this. I'm sure there's probably two. There's probably one Eastern shadow government and one Western. That I can't tell you for sure. But as far as Western governments are concerned, the shadow government is the same group of people behind all the governments that we have in place right now. And you have to realize that they have their actors, so to speak, groomed, again, like I said, in many cases from childhood, and it's planned as far as when they're going to take power. And if you're in a country with 2 parties or in a country with 5 parties, all leaders of those parties work for the same shadow government. So in essence, there is no democracy. They like to give us the illusion of democracy. They like to give us the illusion of freedom. There has never been a democracy since the beginning of democracy. And the reason I say that is, again, if you think about it just in smaller terms, if you have, let's say, 200 slaves, and you decide to come out one day and say, okay guys, you're free today, and from now on you're going to elect your own leaders, and I give you 3 leaders, but they all work for me, then regardless of who you elect or who you choose, the same people are always in charge. And that's why no matter what party, no matter what elected official we ever elect or choose, nothing ever changes. Nothing ever changes except it gets worse for the people and it gets better for big business and the government itself. And if you actually look at what they're doing in terms of policy, whether it be the taking away of legislation or the adding of new legislation, there's only one person that they ever protect, or 2, which is themselves, and big corporations, big business. Obviously, they're in it for themselves. They're in it for money, they're in it for power. I guess in some cases, especially the actors on stage, they're in it for a little bit of an ego boost. But there's never a case where they're actually putting legislation in place for the citizen, for the little guy. Again, there are small nuances. Sometimes you'll have a small little piece of legislation which actually helps the people, but it's always a small little token gesture to give us, again, the illusion that they're working for us, when in fact they're really working for themselves, and really not even for themselves, but for the people that we can't see behind them, the shadow government, which, again, is the same between all countries. There really has never been a democracy as long as we've had democracy. It's been the illusion of democracy from the get-go. We might as well still have kings and queens for all that's going on. So, you know, most of us who are awake or who have been awake for a long time realize this, and that's why we don't really pay attention to what they're doing, because I can already predict from year to year what they're going to do based on the fact that I already know what their intentions are. So their currency, governments, are mainly the taxes, but on top of that, even more than the taxes, is our attention. The more they can keep us focused on them, of course, the less we're focused on ourselves. The more they can keep us fighting between this party and that party, the less we're actually unifying as one people. As the old saying goes, I don't know who coined it, but divide and conquer, I think it was Napoleon, is essentially what they do with all these parties, these elections, these fights. They're dividing countries in twos and threes, and the longer they can keep us divided between party lines, which again are both the same party, the less we're uniting and the more power we're giving them, because as long as we're fighting amongst ourselves, we're not looking at who the true enemy, and I say enemy because we don't really have any enemies, which are them. We're not really focused on them. Everybody thinks that, well, people that pay attention to politics think that, okay, the next election, the next person, the next party, this party's this party's that, oh, you got the bad party. It's all the same, and it's actually quite well crafted. I mean, I have to put my hats off to them in terms of the illusion that they've been able to put forward. They certainly did a great job as far as that goes. And they continue to do so with their dramas and their stories and their news lines and their press conferences and so on. But in fact, it's all just one big dog and pony show. It's one huge stage. And unfortunately, we as the viewers are the ones who are paying the ultimate price for it. So for people that are, I guess, just starting to question or just starting to wake up, this goes back, if you actually look back to John F. Kennedy. He came out with a speech, and I'm going to link it under this video, which clearly stated he knew that there was not only a shadow government, but a global conspiracy, which was done in back rooms, secret boardrooms, which he said he found repugnant, which of course we all do as well. So I'm not going to get too into the speech, but that may be one of the main reasons he was killed, because he was actually trying to fight against it. And he saw it, and that was in 1961 he gave that speech. Here we are in 2018. I can guarantee you things are probably 50 to 100 times worse than even what he was seeing and talking about in his day. So a lot of people, when they realize all this, they get very angry. So did I. I was angry for a very long time. And, you know, they want to go protest. They want to go out and they want to, you know, take the government down. Part of the reason I'm making this video is to say that protest and anger will not serve us. It'll actually only serve them. And to give you a quote from John Lennon, who also knew, he said very simply, when it comes down to violence, you're playing the system's game. They will pull your beard, flick your face. They will do anything to make you violent, because once they make you violent, then they know how to handle you. But what they don't know how to handle is non-violence and humor. And I would add to that love. Those are the only things that they really don't know how to handle, and they will try to push and push and push to get us to be violent. And once we are, of course, they have armies and they have systems and they have ways of taking care of us. So there is no need for any kind of anger or violence. That would actually be counterproductive. And I would also say, in terms of protest, I went to many protests when I was younger. That actually only affirms their power. The more we protest, the more we actually affirm they have power. It's like protesting your parents for something that you want. We're basically asking them to give us something that we want. We're protesting, we put our signs up. As we've all seen, protests never really work anyway. All they'll do is send out the riot squad after a couple days and hose people down or kettle them together and jail the ones who are the leaders. So the strategy, the main strategy, is to starve them of our attention and our resources, to simply turn away, stop looking at them, stop paying attention. Again, their main currency is attention, because wherever we put our attention, our energy flows. So if this is again, if you're just starting to look at this and you actually believed the government the whole time, and you actually thought they had your best interest at heart, and you actually believed it was government by and for the people and so forth, and now you're starting to wake up to the fact that it's not true, and you start to get angry. I understand the anger, and like I said, I was angry for a very long time. All I'm asking you to do is not to, or to let it out, but really take this with a bit of joy in the fact that it actually frees us from them. We don't need to protest them. We don't need to fight them. We don't need to do anything other than stop paying attention to them. Stop paying attention to the game. Stop paying attention to what they're doing. Stop voting. Stop playing the game with them, because as long as we continue to play this game, they continue to win. And of course, we continue to lose. So the strategy, instead of getting angry, is to simply turn away with love and joy. And the one thing is, it obviously makes us angry. Like I said, it did me too a long time. But when all is said and done, in order for us to actually succeed in our ascension and in our coming together, when everything goes down, and including the government, the best strategy that we can have is to turn around and love them even though they may not deserve it. And that'll be the only thing that they don't know really how to deal with. As John Lennon said, love and nonviolence and humor, and I say nonviolence and humor as well as love. They don't know how to deal with that. That's the one place that they're actually powerless completely. So again, the reason I'm putting this video out and I'm going through all this is just to open the box, show you what's inside, so you stop really paying attention to what they're doing, stop buying into the fear, the stress, the war, the this, the talk. It's all a big game. It's all a big show. When you consider all these countries have the same shadow government behind them, in fact, what's the point of having countries other than an illusion anyways? It's all basically the same people running the show behind the scenes. So once you realize that, you already know where they're going to go. I mean, as far as capitalism goes, you've seen how that's gone. We were back in the 70s. Usually one person of a household could work and support an entire household. Now it takes two. And generally, it's even a struggle to make it with two incomes for many people. It's the same thing with what they've done. They've inched and inched and inched, slowly to take away more of our freedom and take more power for themselves, slowly by slowly. That's what they've done. That's what they'll continue to do. We can predict the future for another 50 years. The good thing, and the thing that's on our side, is that the mask is starting to slip. More and more people are starting to wake up. They're making mistakes now left and right. The fact that they're actors is becoming more and more evident to a lot more people. So they're losing power, and they're actually becoming quite scared in the fact of how much power they're losing. It's kind of like religion and the church. At one time, the church was all powerful. And if you look today, I mean, especially the Catholic Church, I mean, they don't really have that much power anymore at all. I mean, they have quite a few followers in the church, but as far as power to, command people to do certain things like they had in the 1500s and 1600s, they've lost that, and the government is losing it too. So, again, the reason I'm putting this out there is, for many of us, this was because I'm kind of trying to bring you on a bit of a journey to full awakening, for the point of your own freedom and ascension, not for the point of conspiracy theories or anything like that. I study conspiracies for over a decade, and I'm not even getting into them here because they're irrelevant. Once you get the point of how it's actually set up and how government actually operates, the details of the conspiracies, if that interests you, of course, definitely go research. The information's out there, but the details are irrelevant once you know the structure and how things are really operating behind the scenes. You know now if they're only out for themselves, if the people in the front stage are really only actors. You know who they're serving. You already know which direction they're going to take. It doesn't matter what story they put on CNN or Fox News or whatever press conference they give. You can already predict the future as far as where they're going. They're taking more power for themselves, and they're going to always give us some kind of false flag or some type of reason why, out of your own protection and security, they need to take a little bit more of your freedom away, and it's for your own good. And if you ask for the reasons behind it, of course, it's always going to be the same. Well, for the sake of national security, we can't get into that. It's always the same story. It doesn't matter which government we're talking about, which country, which party. It's always the same story. The only time the story differs, of course, is during election time, and they do a very good job during election time. They really do. But if you look a year, 2 years after they're elected, it's the same thing as the government before. It's just a different mask to the same operation. So again, their main currency, other than the money, the taxes, is our attention. So what I'm advising, and the reason I'm putting this video out there, is to say, simply, instead of getting angry and instead of us going out on the streets and protesting and so forth, starve them of our attention completely. Just turn around. I mean, their main power is the power we give them. If we take it away, well, we don't have to fight and protest anyway. We simply just take it away. Now, as far as taxes go, I'm not here to advocate one thing, paying tax or not. I know many people that don't, and I know many people that still do, because let's face it, they still do have armies. So that is really up to each individual as far as what you want to do. But again, their two main resources are attention and money, taxes. So what I am definitely advising you to do is to stop paying attention completely to what they're doing. Stop paying attention to the games. Stop voting. It's a charade anyway. And the less people that vote, the less they can actually say it's a true democracy. So again, I have a plan with where we're going with all this, and it's not based in conspiracy. It's not based in government. It's just to sort of open the box to people that are starting to question, to show you what's inside. We can close the box now and turn around and start taking our own power back. And we do that individually, and we do that by just letting them do their thing without giving them any more of our own power. And this is one of the steps in taking back our true sovereignty. The next we're going to get into, I mean, religion is a little bit less important to me, but it is still a topic. A lot of people are still giving their power to religion, so it is another topic I'm gonna address. But the next thing is really media, which is, and we'll get into that in another video. I mean, it shouldn't take that long either, but media, especially the mainstream media, is just the marketing arm of the government. So that's why I said in the last video to just stop paying attention to the news, and I'm saying in this video to just stop paying attention to the government and what they're doing. It's a charade, and there's really nothing to be gained from us paying attention to it other than either becoming afraid or getting angry or fighting amongst ourselves over this point or that point, all of which doesn't serve us. It really only serves them, and that's why this whole charade is in place. So it's with great love that I put this video out. Like I said, the last thing I want to do is piss anyone off or make you angry about what's going on. That doesn't help. It doesn't serve us in any way. If it does make you angry, I understand, but feel it and then just let it go. The less we can pay attention, the less we can worry about them, the less we're angry about them, the less power they have, and the more we're taking back our power, and the more we can move forward as a unified, whether it be country or humanity. So that's basically it for this video. Again, it went a little bit longer than I would have liked. But yeah, the government essentially is not our friend. It's time to stop giving them our power. And this is just another step to not only our awakening, but our taking back our sovereignty. And as we move through these now, I'm trying to get through these kind of quickly, these institutions and these first steps for many of us to waking up, to get into what I call the good stuff, which is really the spirit, who we really are, the power that we truly have, and how we can move forward and actually get into an ascension or really, I guess, a utopian type world Although, as I mentioned in the last video, we are ascending. There is an ascending timeline, and I would like to bring as many people along as I possibly can. But there are kind of steps that each one of us took, and in many cases, the first one was realizing, you know, the world we live in. If you want to get to a certain point on a map, the first question is always, where are we now? And so I'm just trying to go through that as quickly as I can. Where are we now? And then where are we going from here? So it's with great love and respect that I put this video out. I hope the people that are actually starting to question realize who they're watching and who they're dealing with. And that's basically it for this video. And yeah, I'm going to put out the next one. I'm not sure if it'll be media or religion. It'll be one of those two. We're going to try to cover those before we get into what I call the good stuff. But yeah, I appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, of course, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, bye-bye.